Welcome to The Edge by MGR with your host, David Gill.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Edge podcast by MGR. Your host, David Gill here. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week. I certainly am. So today I wanted to get a little more tactical than the regular podcasts I've been doing lately. Just been doing a lot of general business and tech stuff, but today I wanted to get a little more specific on what you can and should be doing, especially when it comes to digital marketing. Digital marketing is constantly changing, and I definitely understand when our clients or other business people I talk to feel, overwhelmed because they don't have time to stay on top of everything that's going on in digital marketing. So luckily for you, I'm in the trenches day in and day out, so you don't have to be. So I'm going to give you kind of a 2018, a mid 2018, I guess it's not even mid 2018, it's almost, it's almost the end of 2018 really. But anyways, kind of a mid 2018 update on the state of different platforms and which ones are better, which ones are worse, and how you should be thinking about your digital marketing approach. But anyways, real quick, before I get into that, are you reading mgredge.com? We are putting up tons of new content, new articles all the time. So if you are not checking that out, you're missing out big time. And I'm just looking for what's best for you. I care about you, and I want to make sure that you're getting the right knowledge and content that you need. And so it's not even about me, it's about you. I want what's best for you, and what's best for you is for you to read the articles that are on the website. So anyways, all joking aside, lots of great stuff, put it up all the time there. I'll put a link in the description to the website. Anyways, let's get into the state of digital marketing.
You ain't got no money, I ain't got no time. All these faces looking funny when I'm driving by.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with Facebook. I'm going to kind of just go platform by platform here. I'm going to start with Facebook because if you listen to this podcast, you know that I've said right now Facebook is the best platform available to advertisers in the world. Period. End of story. No arguments, right? It's the best, and I'll get into the pros and cons real quick. I'm going to do a little pros and cons of each platform, and then I'm going to give each platform a final grade when I'm done talking about it. So I'm going to go Facebook, Instagram, Google, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So let's start with Facebook. So the pros of Facebook, there's a lot. So the biggest, and this is going to kind of encompass a couple different pros here, but is hyper-targeted ads. Obviously, I think most people know this data. Facebook has tremendous amounts of data and are able to track their users tremendously well based on their interests, based on their behaviors, and based on their demographics. And when you combine all of those three things together, you can get a very narrow, specific target audience that's pretty perfect and pretty custom just for your businesses. And on top of that, you can also upload email lists if you have an email list, for example, and they will match the emails from your email list to people's Facebook accounts. Facebook has fantastic retargeting, some of the best out there, because it actually tracks people and users rather than using cookies like other platforms. The hyper targeted ability of Facebook is its biggest strength. So the other kind of half of this is custom content, or being able to create custom content for specific audiences, right? You can make custom tailor ads just for a specific age group and demographic, or specific people who are into certain things as far as interests. So if you have a campaign or an offer or whatever, you can make 5-10 different ads that are all different, that will show to different people based on what audience group they're in. This is, revolutionary compared to traditional print or TV commercials, where it's very much just, okay, we're going to put a commercial that we think appeals to the widest range of people. On Facebook, it's the shotgun approach of just spraying everywhere versus the sniper rifle approach. And Facebook is the sniper rifle approach when it comes to custom ad content. Now, on top of getting raw conversions, Facebook is fantastic for branding, and that's really what sets Facebook apart from any other platform. It's the branding ability that you're able to get with Facebook on top of getting conversions, because normally it's kind of a trade-off, right? Okay, are we going to do more branding and less selling and just do, or I should say, not focus on let's not focus on the ROI necessarily, or getting direct sales or conversions from this ad. But with Facebook, you really can get conversions and branding at the same time, and it's really the only platform out there that can offer that. Obviously, I'm going to talk about Instagram in a second. Instagram can do the same thing. They're obviously owned by Facebook, so I'll talk about that in a sec. But yeah, I mean, that's really the power of Facebook. It's not just that they can drive tons of conversions, but it's also a branding machine as well. And it's still low priced. It has gone up over the years, but the average CPM is still only about $11, which is fantastic. CPM, if you don't know, is basically the cost you pay to get in front of 1,000 people to get 1,000 impressions on your ad. So you're paying $11 per 1,000 impressions. Very reasonably priced still. It's gone up. It will continue to go up, but right now it is still very, very, very well priced. And one of the other things that is not touched on as often about Facebook is the content. The ad content, I should say, is easily shareable. So if you make a strong piece of ad content, it will often quickly blow up without costing you much, because users are sharing it on your behalf, so you're not having to spend money to get in front of their friends and the friends of friends. And that's why the ad content is so important. So if you're making specific ad content for specific audiences and it really resonates with those people, they're more likely to share it, and then you're more likely to get free advertising from people sharing things with their friends. I see this all the time on ads that we run for our clients. It's just Facebook is a very powerful tool in that way. The other thing that Facebook has is very accurate cross-platform conversion tracking, which is, always nice. Everyone always wants to know how their ads are performing, but it's not always easy to tell. But with Facebook, normally it's pretty easy to tell, right? In the past, other platforms and even Facebook itself, it was a little more difficult. But with Facebook, you can pretty accurately tell how many conversions are coming directly from it. And the last thing I wanted to say, as far as the pros go for Facebook, it integrates with Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp coming soon, so that you can have instant conversations with customers. You can either do it yourself, or you can do it. You can have a bot talk to them automatically, right? They don't even need to leave the platform, which removes a lot of friction. This is similar to their new-ish. It's new, but it's not super new. Their full screen ad product, which is basically when someone clicks on an ad, instead of taking them off of Facebook to your website, you can create a specific landing page within Facebook that converts higher, gets lots of clicks, and it just reduces the overall friction, because it's a custom tailor-made by Facebook landing page, or you're making it, but you're following Facebook's layout, so it's going to be perfect for the user, and there's going to be pretty much zero friction. And so all these things really just Facebook does a lot for advertisers, and they're just, that's why I want to talk about them first. They are a truly fantastic platform. So let's talk about cons real quick. For Facebook, there's none really. I think the only con is that as far as direct conversion rates, it's not going to be as high as, say, Google search ads, just because it's not intent-based. Right? Google search ads, obviously, if you're searching for a hotel in Colorado, well, you're specifically looking to buy that, right? With Facebook, you're trying to find people who might be interested, so it's not going to be as high of a direct conversion rate, but it's also much cheaper than having to compete for those keywords. So that's where it balances out. I think the only negative about Facebook is that the ads are getting more expensive over time, and they'll continue to as more companies realize how good the ROI is on Facebook. So hurry up if you're not on it already and start spending more on Facebook, because the ROI will go down over time. It's just inevitable, like every advertising platform. But right now, it is still very, very underpriced. So my grade for Facebook is a straight A+. It's the best advertising platform out there right now. I don't think there's much debate there. So let's move on to Instagram. I'm going to kind of go over Instagram very quickly because it's very similar to Facebook. Obviously, Facebook owns it. So the pros of Instagram, basically everything I said about Facebook, as far as targeting and custom ad content, all those things apply to Instagram as well. I'd say for consumer brands, especially on Instagram, it's consumer brands, Instagram is unbelievably effective. So if you're a consumer brand, you very much need to be on Instagram. The only cons of Instagram really are maybe if you're targeting people like over 60. I think that's really the only age group that isn't in massive numbers on Instagram. But even then, there are definitely people in their 60s and 70s on Instagram. But yeah, if you're targeting anyone from 10 to 55 or 59, they're going to be on Instagram. So it's not really an age problem anymore like it was a few years ago. The only weakness I will say about Instagram in my experience, and it's not that it's like a weakness per se, but it's that it's slightly less effective for business to business companies, right, that are trying to advertise. It certainly still does work for B2B on Instagram. You just have to work a little harder on making the ad content or making sure the ad content is strong to get the same type of results as a consumer brand can expect. But if you're B2C, if you're a consumer brand and you're not advertising on Instagram, then I don't know what you're doing, because you are just completely missing out on one of the best ad platforms for you out there. So my grade for Instagram is going to be an A, not an A+, just because it's a little weaker for business to business than Facebook, but still incredibly effective. All right, next let's talk about Google search ads. So at this point, I think in the digital marketing world, everyone is intimately familiar with search ads. You know, you target various keywords and you bid against competitors for the top spots on the search page, right? So the pros of Google search ads, obviously it's intent-based, like I was saying before about when I was talking about Facebook. For Google, it's intent-based, right? So you're only paying for the clicks from people who are specifically interested in purchasing what you offer. Because obviously, if you're, like I said, a hotel in Colorado, well, I guess you wouldn't search hotel in Colorado. That's pretty vague. Hotel in Denver, let's say. Okay, if you're a hotel in Denver, then you're going to be competing for when someone searches, hotels in Denver, right? And that's someone who searches that is obviously very much looking to spend money on a hotel in Denver. So you're going to get very high conversion rates on Google compared to every other platform, right? They also have strong cookies-based tracking. I was talking about how Facebook does tracking based on the user identity. In Google's case, they do it based on cookies. It's still very strong. And they also have a strong retargeting performance. So they obviously, when someone searches something or is doing multiple searches, then, or maybe even visits your website, then you can target those people who have done that through the Google Display Network banner ads. But yeah, overall, obviously, Google search ads are very effective. They've been around for 15, almost 20 years now for a reason, and people continue to use them for a reason. So the cons of Google search ads, well, there's kind of two. So there's no branding with Google search ads. That's the unfortunate thing, right? Everyone is just blue text on a page for Google search ads. There's no branding there. And you're also at the mercy of other bidders. So if the price for your keywords go up over time, then you're going to be making less money over time, and there's really nothing you can control about that. It's just a supply and demand issue, and the prices have continued to go up every year for 15, 20 years now, and they will continue to. So obviously, as the average cost per click continues to increase, Google ads are going to be less effective. They were incredibly effective 10 to 15 years ago, and now I would say they're very, very effective, but obviously it's still going to cost you a little more. So because they're just a little more expensive, I'm going to give Google search ads a B+, not quite an A. Okay, let's move on to Twitter. So Twitter is similar to Facebook in that they target people based on behaviors, interests, and demographics, right? They just do it worse. I hate to say it. And I did an entire podcast on Twitter's ad platform actually 2 weeks ago. So if you want to hear more about that and you're actually interested in Twitter, I'll leave a link to that in the description, in the podcast description. But anyways, let's talk about the pros and cons of Twitter. So pros. Decent targeting, right? Similar to Facebook in how they target people based on, like I said, behaviors, interests, demographics. Well, I'll get into the cons in a second, but they do have decent targeting. Not to the level of Facebook, but it's decent. The biggest pro is probably, or I should say one of the two biggest pros, I'll get to the other one in a second, is low CPMs. So it only costs about $7 on average to reach 1,000 people on Twitter, which is pretty low. I mean, for compared to other ad platforms, like I said, Facebook is about $11 CPM, so $7 is a very good price. Obviously, that's on average. Sometimes you might pay less, sometimes you might pay more, but on average, it's about a $7 CPM as of right now. Yeah, that's really good, and I think that's obviously a kind of a showing that this demand for Twitter ads just quite isn't there as much as it is with Facebook. But $7 is not bad. The other thing that Twitter has is shareability, and I would say almost more so than even Facebook, because Twitter is kind of the king of viral content. If you hit on your ad content, you really nail it, and it's able to resonate with people. And you're able to get the people who it's targeting to retweet it as the equivalent of sharing it, then you can get massive amounts of reach and impression for very, very little cost, because you could get thousands of retweets on an ad, and it's not really going to cost you very much because most of those people are seeing it from their friends, etc., etc. So if you can make good ad content, then you can reach a lot of people on Twitter for relatively low cost. Now let's talk about the cons. Despite the lower CPM compared to Facebook, and I'm comparing them to Facebook because that's really, like I said, they target based on the same thing. It's the most similar platform, right? Twitter kind of wants to be Facebook a little bit as far as advertising goes. So despite the lower CPM, ads typically bring fewer results. So the ROI overall of Twitter ads is just lower than Facebook ads. So even though, like I said, like you're reaching more people for less, as far as actually getting sales and converting those people, it's just not as effective as Facebook. And I think this is in part because their targeting is not as strong. They do target people based on what they tweet and what things they like, but it's just not as effective. Facebook has more data on their users, which from the consumer side might not be very good, but for the advertising side, it's very good. So Facebook just has more data on their users. You are able to target much more precisely with Facebook, and Twitter kind of has the problem, like I was saying before. It's kind of the more shotgun approach with Twitter. You can't make those hyper targeted ads like you can on Facebook. You don't have the Facebook sniper rifle. Twitter is a bit more of a shotgun approach, which obviously leads to much lower conversion rate overall. So the other final con for Twitter is that it's hard to track conversions. Unlike Facebook or Google, Twitter does not have a good mechanism as of right now. They try their best, but it's just not nearly as accurate as Facebook or Google. So with all of that said, I'm going to give Twitter a C+. Their ad platform's okay. The biggest thing boosting it up is that it is pretty cheap, $7 CPMs. So if you're looking for like a general branding campaign, Twitter's not bad. But if you're looking for more conversions, I wouldn't recommend Twitter. But anyways, let's move on to our final platform of the day, LinkedIn. So I left LinkedIn for last because it's a B2B platform, and I wanted to get the other platforms that work for both B2B and B2C first. I want to get through those. So now we're on the final B2B only platform. I guess you could use LinkedIn for B2C. I haven't really seen too many people do it. I wouldn't recommend it. But anyways, let's talk about the pros. So LinkedIn is unique in that it's a very professional environment. And when people use LinkedIn, it's mostly for business purposes. It's either they're looking for jobs, updating their own profile, or they're, reading kind of industry stuff based on who they follow, right? So LinkedIn has great targeting. You can target, I would say for businesses, it's even better than Facebook, right? Because you can target people based on their industry, their job title, or even the specific company they work for. You can also target people based on, skills they list on their profile, things like that. So it has very, very accurate targeting because obviously they have that specific data that you don't always have on Facebook unless the person specifically adds their job title to Facebook, which, listen, a lot of people do. But, it's not always super easy. But as on LinkedIn, obviously everyone adds their job titles and industries and companies they work for because that's the whole point of LinkedIn. So you can get very specific targeting for B2B purposes. So because of that, similar to Facebook, you can create, like I was saying with Facebook, very narrow ads that speak to the exact person you're targeting, right? If you're looking to get people who work for Bank of America, you can make an ad that literally says Bank of America employees or something like that and target Bank of America employees. Like, that's how specific you can get with LinkedIn targeting. Now, the cons of LinkedIn. The only reason that I don't push LinkedIn more is that LinkedIn has a minimum cost per click, right? They have a bid floor of $2 per click. So no matter what, you will never ever pay less than $2 per click. And by setting that floor off very, very often, you're going to pay much more than $2 per click. The average cost per click on LinkedIn as of 2018 is guessed to be about $5-6 per click, which is very much what I've seen. So that's the main drawback, right? And LinkedIn ads are expensive because of this. So, they can work, but when you're spending $5-6 a click, your ads or your conversion funnel needs to be incredibly well optimized to make the ads worth it, right? So from the ad content itself to your landing page to your closing process, if this all isn't done right, you can very well lose money on LinkedIn. So that's really the only negative. It's just that, it's a fantastic platform for B2B. It's just that obviously the ads are expensive, and obviously LinkedIn does this on purpose because they know that their platform has the potential to be so powerful. So you just have to really test a lot and know what you're doing if you want to be effective on LinkedIn. So my overall grade for LinkedIn is going to be a B, a flat B. Fantastic platform, fantastic targeting for B2B. It's just that it is a little expensive, so you have to be good at making LinkedIn ads and creating funnels for it to be effective. To wrap everything up, in conclusion, focus on Facebook and Instagram ads first. No, B2B or B2C. And spend lots of money on those ads because they have phenomenal ROIs. If you know how to make the right ad content and you're targeting the right people, you can get crazy results on Facebook. Then I would supplement that with direct sales via Google search ads. Obviously, only spend on keywords that's within reason. I mean, as far as it's if the keywords are too expensive, cut them off. It's not a big deal. But anyways, I would supplement your Facebook with direct sales search ads. Twitter, I would pass on for now, because if you're thinking about putting money into Twitter, honestly, I would just take that money and put it in Facebook, because they do everything that Twitter does, just 10 times better. And then, like I said, if you're a B2B SaaS or enterprise solutions, whatever, B2B company, go for it on LinkedIn, but start with a lot of testing and small budgets and different ads and landing pages and make sure you're maximizing your conversion funnel and making sure it's perfect, or you will burn cash very quickly on LinkedIn. But I would give it a shot if you're B2B, because if you can nail it and you can get it right, it can be a massive conversion tool for your business. All right, so that's it for all of the digital marketing talk. Let's get into the news.
It's time for the news.
All right, so only one bit of news today, and that is a Q2 report on smart assistant speakers as far as sales numbers go. So Amazon Alexa devices sold 4.8 million units in Q2. Google Home sold 3.2 million units, and Apple HomePod sold 700,000. Now, quick note to remember, Apple's device is priced at $349, while Alexa and Google Assistant devices are much cheaper, so obviously they're going to sell less. But overall, smart assistant speakers have continued to have massive growth. They sold triple the amount of speakers in Q2 2018 as they did in Q2 2017, which is very impressive, and it's only projected to continue to grow. You know, I've talked a lot about how I think the voice applications on top of these voice assistants are going to be incredibly important and incredibly powerful tools in the future for businesses, and that now is the time to kind of start getting into it, get into it early, because now is the time when it's going to be cheap and easy, and in the future I would expect it to be expensive and hard to compete on the voice assistant platforms. But right now, if you can get in early, I would strongly recommend it. And obviously, you're going to be accessing millions of people who are using these devices. All right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you did enjoy this podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on whatever podcast platform you listen to, iTunes or Google Play or whatever. It really helps us out. You know, we don't put any ads on our podcast, so all we ask is that you leave us a review if you enjoyed. And by the way, you're listening, but are you reading? We have an email list. If you want to join it, it's mgredge.com/join. We send every Friday a email with just a few things that we think you should know for your week, and we spend a lot of time and try to put a lot of value into that email. So if you're not subscribed to it, I would recommend you do. But thank you guys so much for listening. I will see you on Friday with my weekly news roundup.